Today we have with us here at the Elcano Royal Institute, Pyman. He is responsible for the security and defense program within the International Transparency Group. Normally, we are aware of what do they in the field of transparency, but now he came to Elcano to explain new areas in which they are developing ways and procedures to improve and to measure transparency in security and defense. Please, Mark, what could you say us about your new developments?
Oh, well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you very much for inviting me here. What we have found is, since 10 years ago, that to move transparency and anti-corruption from focusing on a government as a whole to focus instead on one sector of government, in this case defense and security, is a way of making lots more progress towards solutions against corruption, rather than redefining the problem in a new way. So we focused on defense and security, and that means that we can focus both on defense ministries and militaries, most of whom have a corruption problem of one kind or another, and it needs new tools and new mechanisms to help identify the problem and to solve it. Secondly, there are many environments where security and military forces either are involved directly in other countries or as peacekeeping forces, and they find themselves in an environment that is often highly corrupt, and they are often in danger of being complicit by the countries in which they find themselves. How can they better deal with this? And thirdly, we have been focusing heavily on defense and security companies. How can they have better anti-corruption measures, and how can they collectively, as a global industry, raise their standards? Those are the three areas where we've been working.
Yes, and in order to go with this assessment, general assessment on security and defense, could you explain a little bit how many people, which is your working system, just to have an idea of the tasks you are facing ahead?
Okay, we're based in London for rather accidental historical reasons, and we have a team of 16, together with about 12 former military, former peacekeepers, former company, former security people. So overall, that's quite a sizable team. We are working directly in about 20 to 30 countries, and we're doing assessments of perhaps 100 countries in total. What we are finding is that countries divide into 3 or 4 distinct groups. There are countries that are naturally high on Transparency's Corruption Perception Index. So the Scandinavians, for example, most of Western Europe, including Spain here, some of the countries in Latin America and Africa and Asia Pacific, where although the country as a whole does not have corruption as a top issue, nonetheless in defense and security, this is an environment that's much less open than the country as a whole. And there are many issues within that, often caused by secrecy, where there are corruption issues to be explored and improved. So for example, we have developed an index of anti-corruption measures across a wide range of countries, and we are now finding many of these countries are actively engaging with us on how they can improve in practice. Very practical things like what percentage of the defense budget is secret, or whether or not it's very clear what soldiers are paid, and whether or not there are soldiers on the payroll who shouldn't be there. Similarly, we have produced an index of defense companies, and this includes companies from Western Europe, from the States, from Russia, from China, and in all from 47 countries. What's the strength, what's the evidence of the anti-corruption measures that they have in place? Whether it be their policies, whether it be their training, whether it be what the leadership says and does in how they communicate about anti-corruption. And we have found, having just produced the index for the second time, just 3 weeks ago, that actually companies are not only taking this subject more seriously, But since 2012, some 76 of them have already significantly improved in the last few years only. So there is a lot happening in the world in terms of increasing transparency and reducing corruption risk, most of which we think is positive. If I could focus on one issue, which often does not get transparency, it's peacekeeping, because this is an area where Spain is quite strong, and up until now, not many Western nations have really put a high effort on peacekeeping. And there are two issues in peacekeeping on the subject of corruption. One is whether there is corruption within the peacekeeping mission itself, and the second larger issue is you are almost always coming into an environment, whether it be Haiti or Mali or East Timor or Kosovo, where the environment is highly corrupt. And as a mission coming into this strange context, you can very easily become complicit in that corruption. How can your commanders deal with this situation better? How can they be better prepared? How can they respond better? This is an area where there is some knowledge, but it's not yet widespread knowledge. We have been involved heavily, both with various parts of the UN and also directly with peacekeeping commanders and with various international missions. I think this is an area where Spain, for example, could do a significant amount and be in the lead on this subject. And that's one of the subjects we've been discussing today at Elcano.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's a pleasure working with Partners International, and we wish you the best in this new endeavor. Not so new, because you have been working a lot, but we hope to keep in touch with you and your team working for the future. Thank you very much, you all.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish you every success at Elcano.